Hello and welcome. This is Thomas, and this is a channel called Wonder of Existence. I'm here again with Mike, and this is the second part of the aspects of human behavior. So, Mike, last time we discussed, we said like the behavior of human being is a mixture of physicality, spirituality, and also external factors like your environmental factors. I'm just curious, what would you say if I say that perhaps there's another aspect of it, which is something which people call external me or other me. And what I'm talking about is some people claim that they are themselves, but sometimes someone else steps in, performing some tasks, doing something, but it's not them. Once they are back to themselves, they say like, oh, it wasn't me, it was someone else. So now the question is, do you think that this is purely mental issue, and then therefore it's a physical part of the body which is failing you, and therefore you start thinking, oh, it wasn't me, it was actually some different entity coming to me? Or perhaps there is some other me or other somebody who can use you as a sort of puppet and just get into you. I'm not talking about the physical body, but just in your mind, and start behaving like in physical world like you, but actually all actions are not done by you. You're like your real you. What's your view on this topic?
How many people know who they are? How many people know who the real them is? They have adopted a character, a personality that is become familiar through certain events. There is a certain, certainly a certain essence of self that makes them more likely to exhibit one type of personality over another and follow a safe route. People are in the comfort zone. People like to be in their comfort zone. And I have for example, I was always very quiet as a child. Very confident, but very confident in myself, but not very confrontational, and very quiet and very self-reflexive. And there were things I wanted to do, but I never thought, I never had the confidence to do those sort of things. But I had confidence in other ways. And my personality was defined then as this quiet person. Not many friends, a few close friends, but not what's the word? Introverted, more introverted than extrovert. Mm-hmm. And because I was uncomfortable in that extrovert position, I carried on that program or the habit almost of being introverted. But there was a part of me that was also an extrovert that wanted to get out. I just didn't come across the opportunity to do that. I needed something to draw it out of me. When I was 22, I joined a band, and I left the introvert behind because I had characters around me that were very extrovert, and I was able to explore the extrovert side of me. And it was explore, and it was a new part of me. And I changed my style, I changed my hair, I changed my manner of talking in a way, influenced by these other characters. Also did a lot of drugs and a lot of parties, and that helped me to overcome myself, my introverted kind, to explore another character. To the point where later I could call on that without the drugs, without the drink, without the other characters around me.
Stimulation, another stimulation. You mean?
Yeah, without that, I could recognise that that is also a part of me, a different part than this, but it's another part of me that is also strong. So I could switch over from one to the other. So in some situations, I could call on this extrovert character to run the show. In other situations, I would revert back to the introvert character because I'm more familiar with that introvert character.
By the way, loads of people claim that they've got this sort of
Dual. Yeah, well, actually, it goes further than dual. Multi-personality disorder. We've all got it. Yeah. And I'll come on to that in a moment. One of the funny stories was when I was in Greece, and the first year I went I was 24, and I went to Greece for 3 months, and I met all these people, and I was very extrovert, and I was a songwriter and a guitar on me, and I would sing every night. I was singing, if you put an audience in front of me, I would sing. Very out there, very party going, and that was a great experience. And the year after I went back, but this year I didn't take a guitar with me. I took a saxophone, and I played in a little bar, in the dark, some glasses on, little introverted music. And there was a friend that had been, a girl that had been there both years, so she knew me as this extrovert guitar player, singer-songwriter type, and she suddenly saw me as this introverted, cool, dark, mysterious type.
Well, that's happened to you.
Yes, she said, "Mike, who's the real you?"
Oh, okay.
And I said, "Well, both. They're not different. They're just different aspects of me that I can put into place when I need them, and I've used them with different. There is a part of me that can get up there, very confident in front of an audience, talk, sing, play, and there's another side that just doesn't want anything to do with that performance side. That just wants to be on my own, comfortable with just intimate setting, and really." The extrovert is a side I can pull on, but the true me is probably more extrovert. But it's nice to know that I can do that. And maybe different. I think the overriding character trait in me is to be more introvert, but confident. And confident enough to develop the extrovert side. And I'm not dependent on that extrovert side. I think extroverts tend to be dependent on being an extrovert won't dare to find out if there's some introvert side of them, because that doesn't fit with their character, and they need their character, they need their ego to be boosted up. It's it's very intricate sort of combination of different character types that you have to discover in yourself, and if you're not discovering yourself, if you're not going into yourself, you're not going to discover all these different personalities that you've possibly got. And again, in talks with my brother, he's hot on this idea of multiple personalities. We've got them all in us, and all we need to do is pull up the personality that we need to deal with any situation. But mostly we don't, and the personalities arise and take over when we don't need them. So we've all got an angry one with us. We've all got a confident one. We've got an inconfident one. We've got an angry. I've said an angry one, but we've got a violent one in us as well. We're all capable of violent things, and we've got calm ones. We've got ones who can
shy one.
Shy ones. We've got characters who can see a situation and not manipulate it, but hold two sides apart and stand in the middle and say, no, we're going to look at this logically and diffuse a situation. We've got all those waiting inside us. All those are there, and from the spiritual realm, thinkers were multidimensional anyway. But we've also had multiple lives, so we've been all these different characters, and they're still incorporated within us. But we've got one main character. This is our main character now, and If there's a trauma, that main character will go away, and all these other personalities will vie for the steering of the body, or steering of the identity. But we're all multi-personalitied. We've all got these different characters within us. If we would only explore them or give them some time to come out, well, what happens? We get into a frustrating situation, and instead of the logical one coming in to deal with it, we get the frustrated one or the angry one coming in to deal with a situation that personality is not meant to deal with. It's so it just makes me think. You think about, well, wait a minute. If I'm doing this and it scares the hell out of me, why don't I get the confident person to come in and deal with it? Because they can deal with it really easy.
But it's quite difficult at that moment, right? Because let's assume that you are in a situation when you feel angry. You are so angry that you basically, there's only this angry guy in you. Yeah, but in order to switch to other
well,
one,
that's why you have to make the distance and say, wait a minute, I don't want the angry one to realist. I know somewhere there's a calm one there. So let's think about a calm. When was I last in a calm situation? How was I feeling at that moment? And through that feeling, you say, okay, that's how I want to feel now. And then the calm one steps in, and the calm one deals with it further. But you have to step out of the situation to allow another character trait to come in. To do it.
Psychologists would call it like you're just trying to control yourself, just control your emotions.
Well, it's not just controlling emotions. No, it's pulling in attributes of yourself and giving that the time to deal with the situation. We can all be confident, so why aren't we confident all the time? We can all be angry, so why aren't we angry all the time? It's not just controlling that emotion, it's recognizing through self-knowledge that you've got certain character traits that are more powerful than others. So why don't we take the time to utilize that trait and bring that trait forward? It's not controlling the emotion, it's letting another trait come in and deal with it. There's a big difference.
There is, but I think the psychologists call it just control of emotions. That's how they call it. But anyway, that's very interesting point of view, to be honest.
I'm not saying it is so. I'm just saying it's a really nice model to speculate on.
No, that's correct. No,
and who knows? I mean, are we? When we say, we
exactly.
often say, if we're dealing with it, like you just said at the beginning, if we deal with a certain situation, or we act in a certain way, people are saying, you're acting out of character. Well, who was that character? If it's in you, it wasn't out of character, it was just not the character that you normally are. But what is out of character?
Yeah.
And we all know that one.
At this moment, we would actually touch upon the stories about the schizophrenia, right?
What? Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia. Yeah. This disease, or officially called disease, is quite intense. I would say so.
Yeah.
You might have, like you said, multi-personality, but officially recognized by the psychologist.
Yeah.
So you've got, let's say, 4 or 5 or even more personalities within one body.
Yeah.
But once again, this is sort of explained on the physical layer. You're saying that all those personalities which you have inside yourself, they're not physical. They're not physical. It is actually my question. Do you think that they're physical? The personalities, so your thoughts, the thoughts are not physical, right? So
I think they're identities. Now, where those identities come from is another question.
Yeah.
Now, there's 2 theories about that I have. Mm-hmm. One is that they are identities that you've experienced in previous lives.
Mm-hmm.
You've been those identities, and they come in a sort of not collective consciousness, but a big consciousness box that you can sometimes tap into, or maybe through trauma it opens up, which exposes who you've been in the past, how you've been formed as an identity through a sort of past environment and makeup, chemical makeup. So all those different personalities that have been hoarded up in some dark place, the back of your subconscious, are all you at different times, different lives that you've had. That was one way of thinking about it. The other way is that they are personalities that are in, say, the consciousness field,
Mm-hmm.
and by a certain event or emotion,
Some trigger.
you can download one of those. That you resonate with one of those, and that can line up with you and overlap with your own personality. But it's not necessarily your personality or your identity, but it's the an identity that existed at some time, and is it's almost like a computer database, a memory database, and
You just get access to
you
it.
get access to it, or it gets downloaded into you and overpowers you and takes over. It could be that. It depends what you think about. How far you go to thinking about what consciousness is outside of yourself, and where memories are. It's like past lives anyway. Are past lives your past lives, or are you just downloading somebody else's story, but it becomes so real because you're downloading it so intense that you think it's yours? We cannot say for sure.
And that's extremely fascinating topic. And
of course it is, yeah.
There's so many things we can talk about which are related to what we just said. But I'm just also curious. What do you think about? I know it looks like it's a one-on-one session. I'm asking you, but it's just two of us. So I'm playing the host role here, and
That's
I'm
good.
asking you constantly. What do you think about? Because if we're talking about the behavior, also the possession aspect, I would like to talk about. What do you think about possession? So some just come closer to this topic. So possession, like someone claims to be, or let's say even religions claims to be knowing people being possessed by something, somebody, some entity.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But is that any different than multi-personality disorder?
That's
Well,
what
it depends what your model of belief is. And if I see, okay, we've got this world, this reality here, which is basically what we perceive from our very small bubble of awareness and consciousness. Our independent, personal bubble of awareness and consciousness that forms our presence and of self, our understanding of self, our experience of self. And outside of that is the rest, everything, mind. But your mind is also out there in this ocean of consciousness. And that little bit of you is, or even a bigger you, is funneling itself into this idea of you here, this small bubble. It's all coming down into this small bubble. And that's where you experience yourself in this particular lifetime. But everything else is floating around in this ocean. All your memories are out there. All the events you ever experienced are out there in every single life that you might have had, but it's all out there, floating around. And everybody else's memories and events and experiences are floating around in this big ocean of experience, that consciousness.
That's exactly the point which I wanted to touch upon right now. You know why? Because I'm sorry for interrupting you, but
that's all right, I'm just swimming here. There's some
swimming.
bubbling along in the water here.
Because I wanted to ask you, like, you basically said, like, do you see the difference between the possession and the multi-personality? And I sort of agree with you that it doesn't look like there's a big difference. But on the other hand, and now you just touched this topic about ocean of different, let's say, situations you've been to with your current and past lives, and etc., etc., and you have access to this according to what we might see, which might be a case, which might be real. I'm just thinking, like, because the possession, in my view, is different to the multi-personality in terms of its intensivity. Oh shit! How do you call it? Intensivity. I'm sorry.
If that's a real word. Intensiveness.
It comes from intense.
Yeah, intensiveness.
Yeah. Intensiveness.
Or intensity, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, in my English is not really good anymore. Intensity.
Okay, so what I want to say is, you've heard probably not once about the situations that people once possessed. They started to use, for example, different languages, started to use different mimics, different behavior, completely different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and that was my next question. But once you started to talk about this ocean of possibilities and behaviors, and I felt like perhaps that's part of it. That's part of the same show.
Yeah.
So
that's how I see it, because it's so easy to understand. Then, if there's a whole ocean there, and everything's in that ocean, everything, because it's an ocean of consciousness. So you've got human beings in there, consciousness of human beings, but you've got consciousness of trees and animals, you've got consciousness of other beings and spirits and gods and demons, and everything's in there. Anything that's ever been imagined has been created, but everything is in that consciousness. And that's the great memory bank of everything. I mean, you could call it the Akashic Records.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that's ever existed is in there as a record, and you
just got access.
You can get access to it. Now, mostly you don't, because you've got some interface here.
But what will
limited,
trigger then?
Which is your brain, which is your interface, which is just like a blockage. It allows some information just to function here and have that particular experience. But if that ever gets damaged, it opens up. Or whether that's through drugs, through an accident, trauma, or an emotional trauma could also open it up, or through meditation and a gift of being psychic or something, which enables you to access a little bit more information. Once you get out there, your emotions are going to resonate with certain things. So you remember your own memories. You pull in your own memories because you experience them. So your attachment to them is very, very strong. Your resonance with them, you resonate in the same way. If you kind of talk about energy moving around and vibrating, then your vibration it matches that vibration of that memory. So you're going to pull your own memories back much easier without any effort. Thinking they're inside your head, but they're not. They're in the ocean, but you just can access them a lot easier. But through trauma or anything like that, you can access other things. And depending where it is, it might be other lives, but it can also go really deep into the ocean and pick up other stories, which are other even alien to us. And what we call about aliens, what's the difference between aliens and demons? We don't know.
Yeah.
Or aliens and gods, we don't know. They're just different explanations of the same thing. And it goes on forever. I mean, how long has this all been going on? A couple of million years from this universe? Billion years? Trillion years? Or does it go beyond this universe? How long does consciousness go on? And you can access that, and near-death experiences are, they access something over here, or they access something over there. The people who have autism or the savants, they can access other specific parts of information, might be musical information, might be language information. And that's what people who have traumas who are possessed, they've, for some reason or other, they've accessed something that doesn't even speak their language.
Yeah.
Speak a completely different language. But it's just,
extremely
there's
fascinating.
an ocean and there's you in a bubble.
Yeah.
And if you pierce that bubble, you've got access to the rest of the ocean. What comes through is up to you.
But that sounds to me like it's a glitch in a matrix.
The burst in the bubble is a glitch in the matrix. Yeah.
You know,
They only call it the matrix glitch.
It seems like we're not allowed to access this database, right? And let me use the technological terminology. Like, we are the terminals, our bodies with our brains, and we've got a cloud database somewhere. It's like with our computers, right? You don't know if you type google.com, you have no clue where this information comes from.
No.
It comes from somewhere from the cloud, but you don't know if it's in the United States or in Japan or in Netherlands. So in my view, it's probably something similar, but on a way more advanced
obviously
level.
way more advanced.
Yeah, but those terminals, for some reason, there must be a glitch, some trigger, something happens, and then
Well, there is.
and then, as you said, religions call it possession, and then you get access to this.
Yeah.
To this data.
But what you just said then is that we're not allowed to access it. I don't believe in
and
that.
it comes from the demon, so it's demonic, right? It's like something negative. I mean, I'm saying what religions say.
If that's what you experience, then it's going to be interpreted as demonic. I don't know how many possessed people have ever had a conversation with their demon and said, who are you? What do you want? Can we have a conversation about this? It's always seen as a threat, possession, but that comes from a time when you needed to fear God as well. So there was fear and God and devils, and that was the narrative of that time.
Yeah. But also knowledge level was so poor comparing to what we have now. So now we can...
It was limited.
The analogy, right? For example, to the technology.
Obviously. They could only interpret it in ways that they were taught to interpret it, which was gods and demons and through religions and things.
And
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. Maybe possession is not. We are possessed. We are possessed by our own spirits at this moment.
Right. Right.
You could say that. And if you have multiple personality disorder, you are possessed by other entities. You could say other aspects of yourself. We're still downloading information and containing it in a sort of bubble with an interface to stop us accessing the rest. Yeah. That doesn't mean that we can't access it or we're not allowed to access it. It just means it's not advisable, because if we do, we're going to lose the experience that we came here for. Yeah. It's a limitation put on us, or we put it on ourselves, whichever one you choose to believe in, but it has a purpose. The limitation has a purpose, because without the limitation we wouldn't be able to have the full experience of being in this bubble, in this particular lifetime.
But I'm great that you explained that this way, because I see it very similar way, if not even identical, or almost identical. And I still treat my body as a costume, as a suit, as a terminal, using the technological terms. And we just once we are born, we get this connection of our real selves, like a spiritual entity with this suit, and that's it. But whenever you die, the spirit just leaves the suit behind, and that's it. And this suit is part of this physical world, so it gets back to the dust, as religions say. Which goes along with the religions, what they say in this case. That's fascinating discussion. There's plenty of other small topics which I have in my head, but I'm afraid that once again we need to park here. Perhaps we can roll another one at some point. But I think that for now it's good to say thank you, Mike, for this another great session, one-on-one again this time. But it's always fun to talk to you, so I'm happy that that took place today. And
I'm just sorry I can't provide you with the ultimate answer.
yeah, let's say this is the only downside of all those discussions, that I would really like to have at least some glimpse of reality, real reality, which obviously you cannot provide to me.
No, nobody can, and you're not going to get it. So you have to accept that and just be happy with the fact that.
But I'm still on a pursuit to get to that point, and I'm pretty sure I won't reach that. But I'm still, as long as I see the carrot at the end of the stick, I'm following. So, thank you very much for today, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. See you guys next time.